All right. The NHL season is very rapidly approaching. Preseason games are already underway, and so we are getting into the crunch time of it. And so today, I want to look at the teams that we think can make that jump from worst to first. Now, this is different from I do this in the NFL, and it's different because there are 8 divisions that we can run through. And so you have a choice of 1 through 8. But with this, there's 4. And I like to do lists of 5, and so just the math doesn't work. And so I have altered it slightly to make it teams that can go from the worst 2 to first in their division in the NHL this year. And so we start at number 5. Oh, hey, Soham04, how's it going? Thanks for popping in today. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the follow. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. We're talking some NHL right now. Teams that have a chance to go from worst 2 in their division to first in the NHL. And I'm going to start with the Anaheim Ducks. They come in at number 5, and they're at 5 because they are in a difficult division. It would be slightly miraculous if they were able to pull this off with Vegas in the division, with Edmonton and Vancouver and the Kings and all of those teams. Very talented division, be the Pacific. But I do think when you look at Anaheim, there is a real opportunity here for some of these kids to finally progress and really work into that role. We saw on the Flames video game stream what John Gibson is capable of doing, but they have so many really exciting young pieces. It just feels like now's the time. It kind of felt like last year might have been, but injuries really did slow this group up. But you now have some very good, very exciting young pieces that can take this jump. And so if there is a team like that is kind of the recipe, right? You have some injury problems. You have, and honestly, I think some of the young players have kind of outplayed their stats anyway. But you have some young pieces that are ready to take that big step all at the same time. And so that is why I think Anaheim can be one of those teams. And so putting them in worst to first does maybe feel a little bit exaggerated, but I do want to put them on this list as a team that I think can make a big jump this year. At 4, I have Chicago. Yes, the Central Division, stacked, right? You have Dallas, you have Colorado. I still think Winnipeg is going to be good. Nashville kind of loaded up this year. But the Chicago Blackhawks now get a full year of Connor Bedard, we assume. They have gone out and added some better veteran pieces around. You are going to get, presumably, a full year of health from Taylor Hall to go along with the Bertuzzi that you add. And you now have an actual kind of NHL roster here around a talent that feels special already. And so I do think that if a team is going to make a jump, Connor Bedard being on that team seems like a pretty good shot to me. So I think Chicago is in a world. Also, you have Chicago who, they have some pieces they can move if they want to make a push and really go for it. So I think that they could be, given the fact that their star is making $925,000, I think that you can now make a push with that team and move them into a spot where it becomes a real contender in the NHL. And so I think Chicago makes this list for those reasons. At 3, it's Utah. We talked about them the other day as a team that was out of the playoffs that can make it in this year. They acquire Sergachev, who I think is fantastic on that blue line. They were aggressive in trades and free agency. And honestly, they were a team that we all thought was going to take a step last year, but then you have all the madness of everything that went on around Arizona, where no, we're not moving. No, we're not leaving. No, Utah's got great skiing. Why, of course we were visiting there. They also have this rink, and they do have this owner, and we're basically playing in a small town arena here. So you know what, maybe, just maybe. And you have all those things kind of going on in these guys' heads about, okay, am I going to have to move from Arizona to Utah? Where am I going to go? Why am I dressing in the science lab? What are we doing here? Why? And so things just spiraled. But I do think now, having that stability, having a very excited fan base behind you, no shade on Arizona, but having a very excited actual NHL building behind you, having maybe even a home ice advantage, gasp, would be a very exciting thing. I just think that this is a Utah team that, again, has an opportunity. They have a lot of talent that just had a lot going on around them. And so I think if they took the step that we thought they were going to take last year, this would seem very reasonable, that they could go out and make some noise in this division. And so that's why I have them at 3. At 2, it's Montreal. You guys have kind of figured out by now, if you've been watching every day, I am quite high on the Canadiens this year. I think that this is a team that has superstar potential in a guy like Caulfield. I think adding Patrick Laine, again, if he can stay right, that is a scoring punch that this team needed desperately. I think that you have a great forward group. I think you have some pieces on the blue line that, if it hits, can be quite good. The goaltending situation does kind of need to get figured out, but it does seem like they have a couple guys who could also take a step. So this is another one where it feels like everything has been building, and now Montreal has a chance to really push forward. And we have seen sometimes some young teams take a couple steps. And so I think Montreal has that opportunity there. But at number one, this one seems like cheating. It's the New Jersey Devils. They got ravaged by injuries on the blue line last year, ravaged by inconsistent goaltending play last season, but there's so much talent on this roster. And then going out and adding Shea and adding Jacob Markstrom make this a legitimate championship threat in the Eastern Conference. And so that makes them the best option to go from worst to first in the NHL this season.